to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I love how we're catching you around your 5-year anniversary. We've been doing this for 4 years. You've been out for 5 years. So tell us how you got started.
So it's kind of a weird story, well, funny story, I should say. Back in 2018, me and 3 other buddies started the business. We had a full-time job, and we wanted to make some extra money on the side. So one of the main guys, he was like, let's start selling tacos. We were kind of skeptical in the beginning. We were like, tacos, you know, there's so many taco trucks.
There is.
Exactly.
It's funny, there's so many, but then I like them every time I'm around. I want them.
They're all different. So
right.
And he was like, we could be different. So we took about a month before we finally decided, all right, let's give it a try. So we did. We all pitched in. We got the equipment, needed to do what we needed to do. And we finally established it on May 5th of 2018. And after that, it just took off. But unfortunately, within the first 4 months, the other 3 guys, they stepped out. They didn't want anything to do with the business anymore.
Why?
It just took too much of their time. They're family men. They were married, had kids. So me, I had no kid. I have no kids still, not married. It worked out for me just to keep it. But I was ready to step down also. And it was just weird because people like the food so much, and they're like, just keep doing it. So I was like, okay, I'll run with this and see how this goes. And I've never cooked before in my life, believe it or not. So this taco business, it actually taught me how to cook so much and be out there and be, talkative and friendly and all that other stuff.
Did you leave your day job, the one you had before?
I didn't, but the day job, they finally laid all of us off in 2020.
So it worked out. You
it worked out.
So this is your day job now,
this
right?
This is my full-time job, yeah.
Wow,
so that's how the business started.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you bring for me today?
So we brought some queso tacos.
So what does that mean?
They're made with cheese, Monterey Jack cheese with some barbacoa and some cilantro, onion, and some lemon right there.
Oh my God, so they're all beef?
They're all beef. It's a shredded beef. We cook it overnight. It's a slow cook.
Really,
so, yeah.
The slow cook. So, when you run out, you can't just go and make more of that?
No, we can't. So we just make enough, hopefully, to last through the whole time. And they've been a big hit. We barely started selling those about a year ago.
Okay, so what were you selling before?
Just regular tacos, asada, chicken, carnitas, chili verde.
So what makes this one the different one?
It's barbacoa. So not many taco places use it. They usually use the birria for those kind of tacos. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go with the barbacoa, and it's been a hit since.
And so what made you decide to switch it up when you did?
A lot of people were asking for it. They were saying, do you make these queso tacos? Do you make birria? And I was like, not yet, but I could try it. So I did a test run on it, had some taste testers on there, and they all loved it. So,
is it easier to make?
It is. Like I said, I just put it in a slow cooker and cook it overnight, put all the seasonings in there, and just let it cook overnight while I'm asleep. I wake up about 7 in the morning, and it's already done.
So do you still do the other ones or not?
Oh yeah,
at all?
definitely. Yep.
You gotta get it. Oh my God, this is so. And then what is that? Why it's so juicy? There's no dryness at all.
Right,
Is that
because of all the juice from the meat. Yes. So we don't take any of the juice out.
And no fattiness, huh?
Nothing. I cut the fat out and everything. So I leave a little bit on there just to keep it tender.
To keep it tender?
But not
oh my
a lot
goodness.
of fat on there.
And I love the cheese on it. Do people ask for no cheese?
Not really. They actually ask for extra cheese.
Because not everybody does the cheese. All the little taco trucks, right?
Right. Correct. So I just tried to throw as much cheese as I can in there because I know a lot of people love cheese. I'm not a big fan of cheese, but
Man, I love cheese. And then there are salsas that you guys usually bring. So
right,
tell us about the salsas.
Yeah, so we make a green and a red salsa, all homemade, and we just put that with our tacos. But we usually don't put it with this only because a lot of people don't ask for it, and
because it's so juicy.
Just the flavor itself, you don't need that extra salsa. Sometimes the meat's a little spicy, so that's where you don't really need the salsa unless you want that extra spice. So we have the 2 salsas that are spicy.
Oh my goodness. So then, so these is how many do you usually have for your catering? Because you do catering at event, right?
We're just a catering business, and we'll do pop-up events. When we do pop-up events, we could sell an easy 100 or more of these.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Just me and my friends would get like 5 tacos each.
Right?
So.
Yeah. So I mean, they're good sizes too, so you can get full off a couple.
So you do a wedding and you do all that stuff. Tell us about that.
Weddings, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So just depending on the customer, what they want, they get 3 meat choices. So whatever meats they go with, we cook it all right there, and then we serve all their guests. So they come up and eat as many tacos as they want for a couple hours.
Oh,
Beans and rice with it also.
That's so cool.
So we provide all the condiments, utensils. So it's an easy setup for the guests if they don't, or the.
So you don't have a truck?
We don't have a truck. We're just catering.
So when you do it, it's just you pop up the tent and then.
The little nets around it, and we have a little cashier, which is my niece, and.
Wow, so you made it into a family business.
I did. So after those guys left, I asked the family to help me out, and they all gladly accepted.
Oh my goodness. So what happens when you get double booked? I imagine this is happening a lot now.
It does. So I run 2 teams. I run one team, and then I try to have either my sister or my brother-in-law run the second team. And it's usually me and one other person, and then 3 other people, which would be my sister, my nephew or niece, and my brother.
How do they, all of a sudden you just gave them a job? That the guys left you and you're like, okay, now it's a family business.
Well, we actually own a family business before. So
what's that?
My dad, he actually currently owns a pizza place here in town, and he's owned it going on 19 years.
So did you know how to make the pizzas?
Yes.
So that you knew how to make.
Right, but cooking on a grill and things like that, nothing.
Oh my gosh, did you guys ever go in? What's a pizza place you guys
So it's a Game Time Pizza Palace. It's on First and McKinley. So he's had that for 19 years.
And they deliver there too?
We could deliver, so when we work, we offer delivery and then or dine in or take out.
So you're kind of a one-stop shop. If we want you, we can get pizzas
Right,
and
exactly.
tacos.
Wednesdays is the night to go over there because we do both, pizzas and tacos.
So you bring the tacos, your tacos are on Wednesday?
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
And we do different things too besides tacos. Sometimes we'll throw in tortas, or we'll throw in the grilled cheese with the barbacoa.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so amazing. So what was your day job, may I ask, that you?
So I was a salesman for a cell phone company, Cricket Wireless. So I was there for 13 years at the corporate store, but corporate decided to close all corporate locations, so they laid us off.
How did COVID affect your business with the tacos?
It did. Actually, it's a weird story. So when COVID happened, people still wanted to party. So they were reaching out to me and saying, can I book you? I took the initiative and said, you know what, I'm not going to take any bookings for health reasons. I don't want to jeopardize the guest plus my family. So I was like, give us a couple months, we'll be back in business. Once we opened up a few months later, it just took off and it's been busy since.
I'd imagine, because not everybody was open and you can't.
Right.
And it's good because the way that you were situated, you kind of can, because you're catering, you're not.
And we're outdoors and things like that. You know, we wore a mask.
And especially if you plan it in advance and then people just get their.
Right. Their own little plate and things like that, yep. So we took all precautions. We got plastic wrap forks. We put the sauces and condiments in little plastic containers so they just grab each individual thing. So during that time, we were very cautious.
So what are some of the coolest events that you've done? Because I'm sure you've done some now, like some events the mayor was at, or some big people, or some fun things. What are some fun things
the coolest events that we've done was just recently we did threw out the first pitch at a Fresno High baseball game, and we were the day sponsor for them. That was pretty cool. And then we're starting to do a lot more school events, carnivals, back to school nights, things like that. So those are really fun. Right now like I said, we're teaming up with Tactical Ops a lot. We're out there.
Oh yeah, because they don't have any food.
Right, so we're out there quite a bit, at least twice a month. So
there's nothing like beer and tacos.
I agree, especially craft beer.
Right, and so now you're at the 559, going to be doing that here and there. I love that.
Right, yeah, and you know we're doing we did the tacos and taps over there.
And you do stuff downtown too with some of the breweries in the brewery district?
I haven't talked to them because I think they have some of their taco places already booked, so it's kind of hard to get in with them.
Do you have friends like that where you guys have other taco men and you're like, hey, I can't do this event, can you do this event? Do you have any friends like that? Or
I have maybe like 2 that I could say, all right, I'm booked, but I could refer you to this person.
And they kind of do the same with you?
Right, correct.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad. It should be like that.
Right, I agree. All food businesses should be like that. So that's with that. But I know other food people too, dessert people.
So what did your friends say that no longer that they left you? Did they ever want to come back and do it? Or they're like, wow, you're doing good. This is so awesome. What did they say about it?
They never asked to come back. They just checked up on me like the first maybe half a year, 6 to 8 months. And they just said, how's it going? And then
if you need help, can you call on them?
I probably could. So I'm pretty sure if I said, hey, I need some backup guys, they'll be there for me. Yeah, they're really good guys.
Okay, so vegetarian tacos. People ever ask you, like, we don't eat meat?
Yes. So we're starting to do vegetarian options now.
No way.
Yes.
So what's a vegetarian taco?
So it really comes down to what kind of vegetables they like. So like I did a catering job a couple of weeks ago. They just requested mushrooms, onion, and bell peppers. And I just throw some good seasoning on there. And we just,
So we're not doing tofu tacos quite yet?
I could do it. I mean, I've tried tofu before. I've cooked it before, and it came out pretty good with the seasoning. So different options. It just really comes down to the client.
Okay, so the one place we know we can always find you if you want tacos is a Wednesday night at, what was the name of the pizza place?
Game Time Pizza Palace.
And is there any other ones that you're consistently every Monday or every Taco Tuesday or any?
Right now, that's just the most consistent every week.
So that's good. So that way, if somebody wants to try that's watching right now, they want to try, they don't know if they might want to use you to catering, they can come and try them at that time.
Absolutely. And even if they want to try on a Monday or Tuesday, I can meet them there and I'll cook it up for them real quick so they could try it. So I'm open like that. So if they do want to try the food, yeah.
Oh my goodness. What's the biggest event you ever catered?
It was for a church. That was for over 500 people within an hour and a half, getting everyone served.
Oh my goodness. So how many tacos did you have to make for that? Well, like of these?
So we started off, within the first 10 minutes, we started off asking how many tacos they wanted. So people were getting like 4 tacos at a time. But then there were so many people there that we had to get fed within such a short time, we had to cut it down to 3 tacos per person. And we got through everyone. We had enough product and everything, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you're going to have a little bit of a following, right? So people kind of know about you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us when you have these anniversary parties on Cinco de Mayo, where do you go on Cinco de Mayo?
So pretty much we do it at my dad's pizza parlor because he has a backyard. And we have a stage set up back there. We put a DJ back there. We put tables. We dress it up real nice. We do specialty items that we don't normally sell. And it's an opportunity for guests to try our food.
So what's a specialty item?
So things like the queso tacos, because normally I don't sell those regularly, but sometimes, just depending on the guest if they want it or not, or the queso or the quesadillas, or not the quesadillas, the barbacoa grilled cheese, fish tacos, shrimp tacos.
Yummy.
So all those stuff that they have an opportunity to try. And that event we call the Taste of Taco Lente.
So what do people want desserts and stuff, some weird stuff? Because if you're the only person doing the food for that time, do you make cookies? You do weird stuff?
Actually, I teamed up with a smaller business. She's actually a friend of ours, and she actually does desserts. So
smart. Okay. So what kind of desserts does she do?
She does everything from cinnamon rolls to cheesecake to cookies to bread loaves. And she's there with me at Tactical Ops maybe once a month with me.
Oh, that is so smart. I love that. Yeah, because you stick to what you're good at. You're not going to be back there baking.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I know a dessert person, and she's my go-to person with the desserts.
What did your dad think of all this? I mean, he's doing pizza, you're doing tacos. He's like, okay.
He loves it. I think because I'm following in his footsteps. He's always been a business owner since we were little. He used to own a bar when we were in the 90s, and then he converted. Then he went to the pizza parlor in the early 2000s.
I know you get to team up with bars all the time.
Right. Yes. So that beer and tacos, like you said, best combination out there.
So you like beer? I imagine.
Do.
What's your favorite kind of beer? Is it blonde, IPAs?
I love IPAs. Yeah. So I used to be a Budweiser fan, but now I'm IPAs. So.
I love that. Okay, so where can we come and see you? Or how early in advance we have to book you for a party for the most part? Like if we did have a graduation, wedding, quinceañera.
I would try at least a month ahead because right now I'm booked all the way till July. So June Saturdays are gone. Sundays are gone right now. So it's.
Because even though you have other people doing it, you're still spread thin. You only have like a couple. You can only do like 2 to 3 events a day.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Even on a Monday if somebody wants you?
Yeah, Monday. Anytime during the week, weekends, if I'm available, I'll do it.
And then if it's a public event, so like when you come out for Taps and Tacos with the 559, that's a public event anybody can go do. So you're posting that on your social, and then we can kind of keep in touch with what you're doing. So if we do want to do like a daytime thing, we can do that as well.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Well, awesome. So what is your Instagram?
So we're at Taco Lente. That's it. So at Taco Lente, and that's our Instagram, our Facebook, and our TikTok, sorry.
Oh, right. And then another question is, so if one of your events is like, okay, we want to do your tacos, but you've teamed up with so many breweries, and they tell you to bring some of the beer out there, do you ever do that? Can you talk to the brewery and say, hey, they want the beer at the party, or you haven't done that yet?
I haven't done that yet. That's a good idea. I mean, I would love to do that, sometime if we're able to bring the beer out like that.
Because we can't at the 5 Nights. We can't.
Yeah.
I've been pouring kegs out there, so sometimes I do that too.
There you
but
go.
that'd be
Yeah,
fun
I'm
night
all
for the
for
weddings
it.
and all
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
So you have weddings too that are coming up in June, July.
Even October. I just booked one for October.
Wow.
So, yeah, weddings are very popular right now, and then we're booked up till the end of this year almost. Sometime.
And then you bring everything, so no one has to have anything to cook or store at that moment, like when you come to an event?
Correct. So we provide all the product. So unless they want to provide their own plates or utensils, then we'll use theirs. But other than that, we provide everything.
Oh, I love
We
that.
cook right there and then. We're ready within an hour after setup.
What's the smallest event you're willing to do?
20 guests or less. Yeah, about 20 guests.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for being back.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking us to come back on here, or asking me to come back on here.
I appreciate all the things you do, and you never like skipped a beat. The whole time that from the last time you were to now, it's like event.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I try to do as much as I can for the community. I'm a homeless advocate and mental health advocate as well, which is why I'm here this time to actually talk about mental health. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's a perfect time to do it, and plus we have the NAMI walks coming up.
And you do this annually.
We do it every year. We actually, NAMI is a grassroots organization, and we started we started in the 70s. And it actually was started by family members who needed more support for their children at the time. And what they realized was that actually talking about their struggles actually helped them as well. So these family members actually put together this organization that's now nationwide, which is pretty amazing. And the goal behind it was to actually provide free services for the community members in every area that they were in. So, so the actual walk is actually to provide the free services. So it's a complete fundraiser. We have teams that come out, and there's different teams that come out, and everybody puts together a team, whether it's other nonprofit organizations or family members or actually people themselves who are actually walking for mental health. And the money that we make at that walk actually provides the free services that we do all year.
And you're like the one to go to right now for the Fresno location, right? Or for just the Central Valley. What do you do with NAMI?
My actual job when I first started, I came in as outreach, and we were actually doing Cal Hope, and that was during COVID time. And so we were trying to get out the word that we had support through the state and the government to actually give more, people needed more resources at that time. And so I did so well because I feel like it's just pretty much my purpose to help other human beings in this world who are struggling. And I did so well that the executive director actually asked me to be the project coordinator, which is
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So now that's why I'm leading. They have me in charge of the walk.
That's why you always do the events.
Yes, yes, yes. So
So there's like someone that probably does like the money side, because you said the resources,
Yeah.
and then someone that does the educational side,
Right.
and you're like the event side.
I'm the event side, but I actually, as well as I do, like I'm a facilitator for support groups, which is called Connections. So that's people like myself who come in, and I live with bipolar 1, borderline personality disorder, and actually have ADHD as well. And so people like myself can come in, and we're all peers, and we get support from each other. And then we also have Family to Family, which is support groups for family members who live with or who have family members who are struggling with mental health conditions.
And that's normal, right? To when you have one mental health condition, it kind of transpires into multiple. So you usually, someone with one mental health disorder will have probably about more than one, right? Or not really?
No, I think how it works is that, I took the peer-to-peer education course. It's an 8-week course, and what they shared with us is that it's genetically you're born that way, and some people can actually have a mental health condition but never be triggered and actually where it actually turns into a mental health crisis.
Right.
But then
They have it at bay.
Yes, but then you have people who just struggle, and they can go their whole lives and do well, and then have a mental health crisis, and it can trigger like their bipolar is more prevalent than any time of their life. And so for me it was actually we've spoken about this before, but I'm actually dual diagnosed, so I'm in sobriety as well. And so
Right. We just talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so at that time, I had no idea before I got sober that I had a mental health condition.
And I bet that happens a lot, where a lot of the mental health is because, and that they said with drug addiction too, because it's all stemming from something else. It's not like you're really addicted. It's that's just a symptom of what was already going on, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I strongly believe that the core of anybody who's in addiction or alcoholism does come from a mental health crisis
Right.
source.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 100%, including the homeless as well. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it all comes from mental health struggles, however that comes on.
So yeah, a lot of people are born with it, but then you also have the people that have something in their life happen. So they have like PTSD or they've been abused. So then that's also, through that, they also acquired a mental health disorder, correct?
Absolutely. Anxiety, we have PTSD is such a real thing, and anything can trigger that. You can have a crisis that happens in your life, whether it can be anything from, a sexual assault to just even losing a job, and it can completely trigger a situation where anything that you had in your life currently that created a PTSD. I mean, you can live in recovery and do well, but then you can have something happen in your life that actually triggers that PTSD, and then you're in a mental health crisis again. So.
And so when you educate people and you tell all these people, and you're so open about your own diagnosis, what are some of the things that you come across that everybody pretty much will ask the same thing or have the same thing to say in response?
I would say we get a lot of phone calls at NAMI, and we have a lot of people who call in crisis. And right now, I would say the largest amount of phone calls that we get are from parents. And when I say parents, I mean parents of anywhere from someone who's a teenager to all the way in their 40s and 50s. And so right now the phone calls are mostly about people who are struggling with their children who just are not able to get well. Either they don't accept they're in a mental health crisis. That's one of the biggest challenges that people face with actually getting into recovery in their mental health, is accepting that this mental health condition does exist. So I would say that would probably be one of the biggest conversations, along with stigma. NAMI is about hope and breaking the stigma. And one of the biggest conversations that we have in our support groups and just with individuals who come in is actually breaking the stigma, not just in our community but within ourselves. I had the biggest stigma about my mental health. I had the biggest judgment about myself, and so it took a lot of work to start to have a relationship with myself, so that I could actually learn not just to accept the great things about myself, but accept that those were, those conditions are a part of me. And so I embrace them. They're not easy. It's exhausting to live with bipolar 1, and most people who do live with mental health conditions, it's when you don't have support, it can really affect the entire family and everything you do, from your job to relationships. And so we often encourage people to learn to break the stigma within themselves, to learn to embrace who they are, their authentic self, so that this way, they can have a fulfilling, purposeful life, And so that's probably the biggest conversation that I have, and why I'm so vulnerable. And you see all the things that I do on Facebook, and
Right.
I want to make sure I inspire people that, that anything is possible, no matter what you live with, no matter what your struggles are, no matter what life throws at you.
And so it's just as important for the person around you to get mental health as it is for the person that has a mental crisis. But then doesn't it get exhausting? So like you're very open, you're very vulnerable. Like you said, it's very exhausting, you work on it. But then sometimes you're just having a bad day. And isn't it like the last thing was, if you're having a bad day or whatever, a reaction to something, and someone say, oh, well, it's because she has bipolar. Oh, it's because she has that. And it's like, no. This is a legitimate, just me having a bad day or not liking this or not liking this person or liking this response. So how do you overcome those struggles?
That's such a great question, because it's so true. Right? And I think probably is working really hard to normalize it, and to normalize not just the mental health condition, but to normalize that you will have bad days just like everyone else that may look and just like everyone else's. And it doesn't mean because you are having a bad day that you're in a manic, you're in a manic episode, or because you're having a bad day that you're having depression, or, that you're having an ADHD moment. Sometimes
Right.
people are just forgetful. You have a busy day at work. So I think that's a really great question. And I think it's important for people around you, as you just said, to get as well to educate themselves, so that they can learn to not only just communicate with the people that they love, but to also be more open and empathetic to that people themselves who live with mental health conditions can have just a normal bad day. And it doesn't mean that it's about to go into like something that most family members do fear episodes. And so as well as what do they say? The weather's bipolar in Fresno. Gosh, and as much as it's so true, but but it's still, it's those kind of comments that can really affect you as a person who lives with those conditions, because you don't want people to look at you as someone who's always up and down. Or Gordie's in a bad mood, or Gordie's struggling right now, or, Gordie, she doesn't seem like she's herself today. She must be going through something with her mental health condition. But it could have been where I just didn't eat, or I'm just,
Right.
Irritable, or, maybe my little.
You didn't sleep.
Yeah, or maybe maybe my little boy's not feeling well, and so it's affecting me, and I'm worried
Right,
about him.
exactly.
So it could be simple life situations, but I think that's a great question. And I think that if you're someone who actually lives with someone who has a mental health condition, it's really, really good to educate yourself so that you can advocate for them as well, and also by learning how to treat them as normal as possible, because we're just as normal as everyone else. And I think most people have mental health conditions or anxiety in this world today anyways, right? Yeah.
I know, I totally believe that. I believe that about the neuro. I mean, sometimes you're even more, because the more aware you are of your situation, the more it's like you've overcome people that have no self-awareness of anything they have going on. But are we ever really going to break the stigma? Because, I mean, like, just in the hiring phase, are you really ever going to, like, vote for a president that you know is bipolar? Do you think we'll ever as a society do that? And when you're in the hiring phase, if somebody is very open about that, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I want to, like, hire them, because what if they don't come into work because of this? How do we break that on a wider scale of everybody?
I think it's going to take more than just, like, NAMI. I think it's going to take other organizations. I think it's going to take, we have this, we go to elementary schools and high schools, and we have presentation called Ending the Silence. And as we present that, because these are young kids, and you know, a lot of times they don't want to talk about mental health, or they don't believe that they have mental health struggles. And we often say, if you have, you know, who here has mental health, raise your hand. Most of them don't raise their hand, but we let them know, if you have a brain, you have mental health. And so, but what we do as well during this presentation is we try to do something really cool, and we bring up a whole slide that has all these famous people on there, and we tell.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we tell them what this person lived with and what they struggle with. You know, they have John F. Kennedy, who lived with depression. They have Adele, who lives with the eating disorder. So all these actors and actresses and political people who actually are vulnerable, that's what's going to really make a difference, is because, you know, they're working really hard to normalize it, that even though you live with a mental health condition, you can still have a purposeful life. You could still do something pretty amazing with what you live with, you know. And if you asked me this 5 years ago, I would not believe that this is a true story. I would have been like, oh, I could barely keep a job, let alone keep a relationship. And you know, and now it's pretty amazing to be able to take like all those parts of me that I just didn't really like so much, because they just made life so complicated. It's amazing that I can take all of that, and I've created just this amazing life, and I feel like I have this incredible journey that I get to like share with the people that I love, with our community, and I'm honest about my hard days, because I want people to know that it's real. You know, sometimes, you know, you know, before I came to the show, I was so nervous. And
The first time,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now it's like nothing for you. I noticed a change.
But no, I think all your questions are really great, and I think you know, breaking that stigma as a whole. Will we ever truly break the stigma? And will we be able to come out of this? It's really hard to say right now. I mean, you look at the news and all the people who are struggling, and all the shootings, and you know, in the high schools, and it's really hard to say, because I really do feel like we have so much information coming at us right now, with, you know, with the news and social media and you know, TikTok and all those, and I think they're all great, but I don't think that everyone I don't think that everyone is able to completely take in all the information, because it's so much, and I think it affects people's mental health. So do I think it's going to be, I think if we're going to be able to break that, I'm not sure. It's going to take more than just our community. It's going to take like a really hard work from like probably the whole, you know, the whole nation, you know.
Why are we right now? We're the most aware we've ever been about mental health, the most educated. As a society, we are actually at that point right now. We're most, and then it seems like everything's going wrong now. So now we do have, like you mentioned, more shootings, more of this. Why is it happening that now we are taking a lot of steps there as a culture, but we still have all these problems we can't master? What do you think the problem is there?
Honestly, I feel as though, you know, I think the information, I think that, I don't know if, I'm 53, and when I was young, we didn't have CNN, we didn't have nationwide news, you know.
We didn't even know what mental health was.
No, not at all.
Awareness of it. No,
so we were just, you know, we did our lives, and we were just focused on being kids, and, you know, in high school, we didn't have computers, you know, we didn't have social media, you know, we didn't, and when the school shooting happened, I think Columbine was the first big one that I knew of, and it was a big, big deal. And then, but, you know, and I think, you know, I think it's so important to have information as well of what's going on. So I think we haven't really found that spot yet to where we make, you know, news healthy and how we present it. And I don't know what that looks like or how would that be, but, you know, every time you see something on the news that goes everywhere, then you just see something else that happens where someone else goes out and does the same thing, or, you know, I just feel like, you know, we're able to, I guess, you know, I guess we're able to kind of have, if we're not doing well mentally and emotionally, then you can go online or you can go on the news and you can just obsess on things that just feed that, and, you know, feed that part of you that's not well. And so it gives you ideas that probably are not the greatest, like buying a gun and going to, you know, go hurt other people, and then, you know, maybe you didn't have friends, and so now you'll be famous, even though you're not here anymore. That's the way I see it. And I think that people who struggle, I think that sometimes they're just struggling with, it pushes them to the point where they're doing things that, that you couldn't imagine someone doing, based on a lot of what we see that's out there, and it's just so much all in our faces, it's just always coming out of everywhere. I have to stop watching the news because I live in, it gives me a lot of fear.
You know what you can handle, what you can't.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and, I do believe that that's a big part of it. So, I also think that we need to talk about it more. We need to be more honest and more vulnerable. I think culture, different cultures are able to talk about it, and different cultures don't. It's not really, especially the older generation, it's not something you really talk about it. I think it's really, I talk to my parents have become really supportive in my life since the last time we spoke, but it's still an uncomfortable.
Really? That's good.
Yeah, it's still a really uncomfortable topic for them,
Mental health, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't, I don't think they quite, I think when they were younger, you just, you get through life and you stay strong, and, that's how it goes. And, now, I'm talking about how I'm getting support, and giving support, and I'm not quite sure if it makes quite sense to them.
And then I see you, and you are inspirational. You are kicking ass at life. I love what you're doing. People always think I have a lot of energy, and then I see you, and I always think, oh my gosh, your energy is like the maximum of what you're accomplishing, what you're doing. And I think it's great. And when you say that you have like these mental issues, I don't even see that. You're like, you've worked on it so much, it's not even visible to the rest of us. What do you say to people that haven't? Because I would think a lot of people get inspired, like, I could do that. I can be just like her, and people should feel that way. Anybody can be anything they want to be. But what about people that kind of take on more than they can share, or they just kind of run head first into things? How do you tell people to be mindful of what they can handle and what they can't, and about taking on tasks and challenges and accomplishing things, but maybe one step at a time?
Yeah, one thing that I learned at NAMI is doing micro goals, and it's just, because I'm the person, that lives. I'm extreme. I'm either all in or I'm all out. And if I'm working on something and it doesn't feel right, then I'm probably just gonna, if I'm not seeing some sort of result out of it, then my mind starts to, to tell me that it's not going to happen, or that I'm not capable of doing something like that. So I try to tell people to do micro goals, That's
a good point.
Yeah, like this week, if you're starting to work out, don't go and, work out 5 days a week, but maybe, find someone like you who can help you to this week I'm going to go for a walk around the block. It can be that simple. I'm going to go for a walk.
That's a great analogy, too, because I do get those people that are just off. And when people go on these hardcore diets, I'm like, don't. Yeah, that's going to overwhelm you. So you're kind of like in the same where you tell them to pace themselves.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And micro goals are huge. We have a peer-to-peer training that's really cool. And we talk about micro goals. And we ask people, what's your goal going to be for this week until we have class next week? And it could be as simple as, I'm going to drink 3 water bottles a day. We try to set up people not for failure, but to succeed. Because micro goals will lead into bigger goals, and you put all those little micro goals, and at the end of it, you succeeded at something, And so, I do that with my cycling. I train, I do probably about 14 to 15 miles every other day, and then I have a huge event coming up that's going to be 80 miles, and so it's micro goal, micro goal, micro goal. Then at the end you have this, you try to achieve this huge accomplishment, and then you've had all these little goals that have helped you to get to that area.
That's awesome. You're so awesome, girl.
I feel the same about you.
How do we get involved with this? And then tell us about the event on May 27th, by the way.
So NAMI Fresno is going to have NAMI walks, and we're nationwide, so
everywhere.
So everywhere is going to be doing a walk, and ours is on Memorial Weekend. It's May 27th. Registration starts at 7:30. It's at Woodward Park. And the walk starts at 9 a.m. Okay. And so we're going to have, we have teams. You can go on to NAMIFresno.org, and you can find the NAMI walks on there, or you can go to NAMI Fresno / NAMI walks. And so you go.
Everything's free, right?
Everything's free. And on the actual walk, teams actually do their own fundraising. You know, you don't have
cool.
you don't have to raise money, but a lot of teams come out and they raise money because most people who come out for the NAMI walks are somehow connected with mental health, and everyone comes out to not feel alone. And you come out and there's over like 1,000 people out there, and you don't feel so alone anymore. And you're like,
Right.
whoa, all these people are out here advocating for mental health. And you could be someone who's living with mental health, or you could be someone who has had family members, or you could be part of another nonprofit organization, or you could just want to help, you know, the community who's struggling, you know.
And I'll be there stretching everybody.
Yes, they're stretching everybody, and I really appreciate wanting to come and do that. And it's a big deal. So, and you'll see, it's really a good time. We have a kids corner. We'll have we'll have some first responders out there. The CIT team's going to have
You
tacos.
can sign up day of, correct?
You can sign up day of.
Perfect,
Yeah,
okay.
you can sign up day of, or you can go on to our website and sign up. But definitely, we welcome everyone who wants to come out and make a difference in our community. Even if you come and walk by yourself, it's called NAMI Walk Your Own Way. So you can
Even if you just come and get tacos.
come and get tacos, come and hang out. But it's a great way to be a part of
love
something
that.
that makes a difference. Yeah, it's really
And
cool.
what's your social media? Where can people get a hold of you? We'll put the NAMI stuff up and then your stuff as well. So what's your personal, I know you're very responsive of everything.
Oh, yeah. My social media is Gordie Ochinero-Bermudez, and Gordie Ochinero-Bermudez, OCHINER-BERMUDEZ. Once you pull up Gordie, you won't miss it, because I don't think too many Gordies have that long of a last name.
And you have to love baby pictures if you want to be following her.
Exactly.
You know, cute babies all the time. Oh, baby overload.
Yes, and then NAMIFresno.org is for NAMI Fresno, and so you can go on there and find out more about our walk, as well as if you need support.
All the resources.
Yeah, all the resources. We also,
There's always free resources. So
Always
there's
free
nothing
resources.
to not look into.
No, absolutely. We don't take any insurance, and everybody who actually works at NAMI is lived experience. So that's who they hire, someone who's actually lived this, lived the life of someone who's struggling. So,
Thank you so much for coming on my show today.
always, I adore you.
Thank you for coming on our show today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Tell our viewers who you are.
My name is Manny Piceno, and I live with a mental illness, diagnosis of major depressive disorder, anxiety, and just a sprinkling of PTSD.
Wow. And then I'm looking at the tattoo. What's that?
It is a Hawaiian word. It means imua. Roughly translated means forward.
I love that.
My father is Mexican. My mom is Hawaiian. So that's a whole nother show. I don't think we have enough
That
time.
would be a lot.
Right.
And so you worked for Valley Children's Hospital.
Correct.
What did you do there?
I was a supervisor for respiratory care services. So I'm a respiratory care practitioner by license. It was a very rewarding job, right? You get to work with kids. I got to influence young clinicians. But you don't see the toll that it takes on you.
I was going to say, I would think that would be a very hard job, and I would think it'd be really hard to watch you losing children regularly, right?
Right. So I have some pretty strong issues, right? I think if I take a systematic approach to everything I do, I'm going to be okay. So as an organization, they have things you could participate in, right, to help you stay well. And I did all those things. But I think it was the last couple of years I realized that all those little things, every time a child passed, that you saw, that you witnessed, that you participated in the withdrawal of support, they add up. And it didn't matter how many times I went home and prayed on my way to work or from work, it took its toll. And I quit. I didn't realize I was in the middle of a crisis. It was a wonderful time because it was 2021 of June 24th, 2021.
Wow, after the whole COVID surge and you having to deal with all of those.
Right, I went through a divorce and I said, forget it. I handed in my two-week notice. And then I just traveled like everything was cool. But 2 months before I resigned, I was already planning my suicide attempt.
Okay, so when did you know that this was going to happen? Like when you got divorced, you're just like,
No, yeah, because it was subtle, right? And when I tell you I took a systematic approach, it's true. I was going to therapy. You look at all the 5 stages of grief, and I knew that I was going to go through those things, and I did everything that the book says you're supposed to do.
Wow.
But I didn't identify that I was free falling to a depth of depression that I had never known, right? And the pandemic was the perfect petri dish because I didn't have to go outside. I didn't have to go buy groceries, right? I could have the groceries delivered.
so you weren't working in the hospital during that time?
I left. I was probably depressed for a long time while I was at work, but I left in June of 2021.
Okay, so you did see a lot of things happen.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
right. Over that course of a career, you do.
Okay.
Right, and you see the strain on your coworkers, right? Because it's not easy. Staffing was always a challenge, right?
Especially during that time,
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So more of a challenge than
it just added up, and you work long shifts, right? And when it comes to children, everybody wants to give extra. To me, that's what makes the castle so great. I refer to Valley Children's as a castle because it is. But long story short, I attempted to take my life on January 1st, 2022
Okay.
at 9 p.m.
Why that day? What was special?
I don't know. I just woke up that day.
Oh, but I thought you were planning it for a while.
I was, but I didn't plan a specific date.
Okay.
I woke up that day and said, this is the day.
It's like a New Year's resolution. But reversed.
Yeah, a pretty whacked out resolution, right? And I lay there for 3 days. I got up at 2:40 in the morning on the 3rd, and I called that I have an AI device, artificial intelligence device, and I had it call my sister, and she called the paramedics. The police came. I could barely walk to the front. I kept falling because of all the fluid I lost. The Fresno Police Department, they treated me with such grace and understanding, as well as the paramedics. I ended up at Clovis Regional Medical Center for a trauma eval.
So what did you do? Because you showed me a scar.
I have a scar on my neck.
right here.
Right.
Okay, so how did you get that
I
scar?
took the blade from right below my ear, and I came all the way across to here. See that?
Yeah. So with a knife or like
I
razor?
bought it online. It was a device used for skinning animals. It's called
my goodness.
a dressing blade.
Okay, so you did that when you were in your bed or when you were in the bathroom?
No, I went in the back. It was, when I tell you I planned it out, I was bananas. I didn't want a big mess for everyone to clean up, so I laid down in the tub, got fully dressed, laid in the tub, put a towel over because I was worried about blood splatter. And, the hardest part of that story is my sister. She's the one that I called. She had to clean all that up, right? Her, my brothers, my brother-in-law, John, they've all been great. I've been blessed to have the network of support you need. I knew I couldn't trust myself. So before the 72 hours was up, the first social worker came to me and I said, dude, you can't send me home. I don't trust myself. So he listened. And my first stop was the Community Behavioral Health Center on Herndon near John's Incredible Pizza. And great staff, they love on you. I learned to work coping skills. I saw other people trying, but I knew I wasn't done yet. So I did 30 days after that, another volunteer. So 46 days of inpatient where I learned routine, coping skills, where I first heard of NAMI, right? What's NAMI?
Wow.
NAMI just pops up, right? They give you a handout for one of the groups. And, I started researching NAMI because I had to come up with a plan once I completed the second program at the Star Behavioral Health Center. I came up with a daily schedule, right? Because you get used to this routine, right? People wake you up, they tell you when to take your meds, they tell you when you can walk, when you can do your laundry. And so I needed some structure. And NAMI was like a whisper at first, right? There's this handout for an exercise, probably on coping skills initially. And I didn't know what NAMI was. When I got out, I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I found another place to go to. That place probably saved my life. It's around by Kingsview. It's called Blue Sky. And that's where I heard more about NAMI. NAMI's been NAMI's like the icing on the cake for my story, but it was real subtle and gradual the way it came into my life. You know, I found out about the NAMI walks going to Blue Sky, where I still facilitate groups there as well. And so I decided to do the walk. And when you do the walk, you have to register. So I got on their email list. And they asked me to complete some of their signature training to facilitate groups. So I did. My friend Gordie has been a huge advocate. She makes me believe I can do anything. The first group that I attended for NAMI was a virtual group. And you would think a virtual group, there's no true connection, right? Because it's virtual.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Because everybody that attended the group, they're so raw. And they all want help. To be a part of that, you know, what's big for me when it comes to NAMI is before any meeting starts, they read the guidelines, which are pretty cool. But then they also read the 12 principles of the support. And the first one is, we will see the person, not the illness, right? And most of us, even when it comes to ourselves, we don't even see that. We see that we don't see ourselves. So to have that be the number one thing on the principle of support, right? And then rejecting guilt. And the last principle of support is, we will never give up hope. And those stuck with me. And if Gordie asked me to do something, I'm in. I don't care what it is. And I've been able to facilitate a few groups at NAMI and give back to a community that saved my life.
So tell us a little bit more about the process. Let's go a little bit far back.
Okay, cool.
So you knew you were going to resign after 16 years there, and
Yeah.
you got divorced. What
Right.
came for it? Can you tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of insight into all of this?
You know, I was living in Visalia. I decided to move back to Fresno, right? Because, you know, the commute. And I really didn't take much time off from work.
You're a hard just
Right, I just knew, and
workaholic.
and that's not just something culturally, right? It's probably from my generation. I'm almost 61 years old, and you really didn't have mental health issues, right? If you had,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
just mashed it down and you worked through it.
Right.
And so that was my mentality. I just submerged myself in work, and I worked with great people. It was a great cause. If I needed time off, they always gave it to me, right? But it just, like I mentioned earlier, it just takes its toll.
Did you not give a lot to your marriage because you were working all the time?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's part of the
yeah.
demise of it?
That was huge.
Did
right.
you have children?
I have one son back home in Hawaii. His name is Keali'i Omana. He is 35 now. I have 4 grandchildren.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Was that with your wife? Or
no,
was that
no,
before?
previous,
Okay.
another lifetime
So
ago.
then how long were you married for?
7 years.
Okay.
Right, known her for much longer than that. But I think I failed the marriage, and I don't hesitate to use the word fail. Right? I mean, I did the best for my family at the time, but
You were giving more to the job
yeah,
than the marriage.
right, 100%. And my closest friends remind me of that. You know, they're very supportive, but that was their perception as well.
So then you got divorced and then you retired, or vice
No,
versa?
well, no. I got divorced and I worked for a little, like a year plus, maybe
Okay.
2 years. And then it was just mounting. I didn't realize what was happening to me as far as from a mental illness, right? And then we can talk about trauma. I know that the first time that I was in an emergency room was at the age of about 4.5 because I had to get stitches because I was hit by my father. I remember my mom telling the doctor that I fell. And so it was just things of that nature that added up, and you don't view them as trauma where I am from a generation, right? You just deal with it, and all of those things happen and help me to become the human being that I am today.
Did you even remember that really happened, or did you think you dreamt it?
No, I remember.
You always knew that it happened.
I remember.
Because sometimes it was that far back, and
Yeah.
you have trauma, you don't even know if it really happened
Right.
or not. So you knew it happened.
I remembered that. And so it was just my mantra to just work through,
Right.
right? To just keep giving. In my mind, there's a mathematical solution to everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a task, you just solve for X and get it done. I did that with everything, but except when it came to myself, right? I didn't acknowledge that I was struggling because I had several colleagues at Valley Children's that were struggling, right? And they were wise enough to get help. And the sad part is I have people that I could call. I just didn't.
Right. I think a lot of people are
And
like that.
then you think that listening to the principle of support where they say we will never give up hope. To get to that point where I say there was no hope, actually there was like that much. You can't see it, but there was that much. Because when I didn't die, I knew that I wanted to live. I didn't know what that looked like, but I trusted the people in the community here in Fresno. Too many places to mention, too many great psychiatrists that I've met along the way that told me what happened to me was real and that to find a purpose. And then Gordie asked me the other day if I thought, so this was January 1st of 2022 when I attempted to take my life, to now, that's really like light speed.
Not very long.
Not very long. So to go from that to this, to be surrounded by human beings that love me and care for me and an opportunity to give back, it's absolutely brilliant. I couldn't have planned it. I'd ruin it if I formulated a plan.
Did you retire because you were going to kill yourself, or you didn't know that until after you retired? I want to kind of know when the plan formulated.
Well, if it all worked out, I wouldn't be here, right? According to my plan.
Right.
I wasn't worried about it.
I was just wondering where it came from.
Well, that's a
where
good
it was
question,
like-
because I had one clinician ask me shortly after, do you view this as a failure? And at the time, I had failed because I had planned it for so long, right? And now, I don't think I'm done yet. And trust isn't a word I used very often previously in my life, but I've learned to trust people, right? Because we all need each other. NAMI is a great influence on that, but there are so many other people along the way in the community that have touched me and shared with me and given me hope and shared how important it was to work on myself. It's okay to put yourself first, right? To be mindful of where you're at and break the stigma that we have on ourselves, right? So many people can't let that go, right? They don't think we have so much more in common than we have differences. We would just see that.
That's a very good point.
It doesn't matter the tone of your skin, where you are financially, where you live, there's so much. And I would just like Fresno County to have better representation, I think. Let's talk about how bananas it's been the last year and a half. I participate with NAMI. I participate at Blue Sky Wellness. I'm on the Fresno County Behavioral Health Board. I didn't see that coming.
Wow.
And so I am vested in giving back. That plan is greater than me.
So what do you do now then? What's your daily life like now?
My daily life is, I wake up, it's one project or after another because people need help. We're currently working on it's called the PAD, Psychiatric Advanced Directive. There's an app. I'm part of that group that the state's working on. There's another thing called the LEAD Summit that takes place on May 20th here in Fresno. But most of my time facilitating groups at either Blue Sky or with NAMI. I'm confident that, my participation at NAMI will grow because it's done so much for me. Just based on the 12 principles alone, that's enough for me to have complete buy-in with that. And anyone that calls and needs help, I answer the call.
So you're almost a full-time
Right.
Advocate, helper of this now.
Right.
And now you have a whole other thing
Right.
that's just like your life.
It is, and it's. I had to be honest, right? Tell my family, what to look for in case I'm not having a good day, and you have to be brave enough to listen, right? But all the things that I'm speaking of that I've shared with you today, they're not ideas of my own. It's like organizations like NAMI, all these behavioral health centers that I've been to. And I've learned more from people that go to these groups than from anyone with those fancy letters on the back of their name, right? That's cool to be a doctor and a clinician, but the people that are living it, they know, right? Doctors and clinicians say, oh no, maybe you'll be better in a year, right? No, I'm gonna be this way forever. I just need to, and it's okay when you're having a bad day. If you're having a bad day, it's okay. Just acknowledge it, work on some coping skills, be mindful, take a breath, listen to some music, go for a walk, come here on this Everything Sparkle. But
So what are some goals you have in the future? What would you like to have accomplished? I mean, now that you know you're stuck here and we're not going to lose you, what are some things you'd like to do?
Well, I recently completed, they had a Medi-Cal peer support specialist training. I completed that. Don't know if that's the direction I want to go to, because I think I just want to affect the most amount of people that I can. And I don't know if I can do that in that vehicle. I love facilitating groups, support groups. The connections group at NAMI. It's so wonderful when people come in for the first time because they need a place. And to be part of that experience, it's priceless, So I like that. I like that interaction. I like helping new facilitators. I like it when anybody reaches out for help, right? And they don't know where else. And then what's important for me is to find a voice for those that don't have a voice of their own, because they're out there, whether they're homeless or housed, right? And the whole homeless thing, that's a completely another show, right? Because you can't just build homes or housing for these people and expect them to be okay. How are we going to get them ready for that?
Is that part of what you do on the board?
Well, the Behavioral Health Board, anything that, contractors and such come through the board. And I don't know how I got on that. Someone suggested it, someone from the county, and I did. So I'm a newbie. I've been there on the board since November. They have several subcommittees, and I'm finding my way. And so I just hope to give back, right? To get more people from Fresno involved on that board, because we could use some more members.
Wow. So how do we get a hold of you? Do you have some social media you can give us, and then we can DM you?
I'm 60.
I don't want to hear that.
Okay, I think Manny Piceno at Instagram, maybe.
Okay, so do you have an email that you can give us?
Yeah.
What do people have interest and then they want to be on the board as well?
Well, if you go to the site, my phone number, my email, everything's on the site. If you go to the Behavioral Health Board.
All right, Behavioral Health Board. And then if you also want to be on the Behavioral Health Board, we can go to you too.
All right, and come see us at NAMI. If you're thinking about going to a group, that means you should go. On the days you don't want support, that's a day you need support,
to go.
Right? Just like going to the gym. The day you don't think you need to go to the gym, that's the day you need to go to the gym.
Exactly.
Right? 5 minutes on the elliptical. I like the ascending elliptical first, right? 20 minutes on that and life is better.
Thank you so much for coming on my show, Manny.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll see you again on May 27th.
You will?
I will be there.
Okay, I'll be there. Thank you.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh I must confess dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't want to be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a mystery.